Welcome to RiskEZI, where risk management is made easy. This video is going to be a little longer than most, as we're going to do a step-by-step walkthrough of setting up your RiskEZI site for the first time. The first time you log into RiskEZI after having signed up and entered your payment details and done the verification email, you should find yourself here on your profile. Hopefully you've logged in as the super admin, remembering that two emails are used in the creation of a site. One becomes a super admin and the other is your everyday user account. So hopefully you're logged in as a super admin, which is where I am now, as you can see. So there's my email address. Here's my super admin access. Now, the very first thing I'd love you to do is go ahead and set up two-factor authentication. The reason for that is this super admin account can do absolutely everything on your site. They can move things around, they can change people's permissions, they can delete things. So you really want this to be a well-protected account. So go ahead and set up two-factor authentication. I would recommend doing that for anybody who you give super admin access to on your site. You may even want to do that for everyone who has a login, but that's up to you. Once you've done that, there's a few other things on the profile I'd like you to do for me. So step one of setting up your RiskEZI site is all about setting up your super admin profile. It'll start off very similar to this, just have an admin email and not too much else. I have a few more things happening because this account has been set up for a while. Go ahead and press the edit button down here, and then you'll see all of the fields that you can enter. I'm not going to worry too much about personal information. That's up to you whether you want to do that. Same for company, university, or school. That's not really relevant for a super admin, as their only real function is to be the office use super admin level. So down here at the admin level access, this is the stuff that is helpful. So have a look at the email, make sure that's the email you want to use for the super admin. Obviously they need to be in the super admin group. If you've set up any departments, you can make them leaders of that department and so on. But it's unlikely that you'll have many departments or anything like that set up at this stage. So just go ahead and put them into your main branch. They should be in there by default, but if not, choose the main branch that you want to be super admin of. And if you need to change access later, this is where you choose which branch they're in. But that is the first step, setting up your profile. Once you've done that, go ahead and hit submit. And there you go, you've saved your super admin profile. Congratulations on completing step one. Now, step two is to set up your dashboard. The dashboard can be accessed over here from your blue side menu. And this is the place where you'll basically see most of what's going on at a glance. You can see there are different modules, such as a calendar, new users, which will flag anyone that's new to log into your site for the first time, recent incidents that have happened, upcoming events, and so on. Now, the dashboard is not just these modules in the middle, it's also kind of your menu. It's your top bar here that has links that you can put up there. It has your branch selector for which branch of your organization you're in. And it also has a few of these nice little things that show you permissions, help, takes you to their help, notifications, and so on. And of course, your profile. So this is your kind of whole thing makes up your dashboard. But the part of it I want to show you now is these modules in here. So some of them come built in by default, but you can always change them. For example, you can see here on my secondary dashboard. Oh, that's another thing. You can actually have more than one dashboard. So if you want to set up a dashboard that just looks at one particular branch, if you have multiple locations, or you want to set up a dashboard that just looks at a particular department or ministry, you can do that, no worries. But I'm going to go to my main super dashboard right now. And as you can see, my calendar is sort of squished up on half the page, like all the modules are. And I decide, you know what, I don't really like that. I want to be able to see a bigger calendar so I can see a bit more of what's going on. No stress. Just hit the edit button. And then in here, you can edit your super dashboard. You can rename it if you like. You can add more modules. So all the gray ones are ones I've already added. Any green ones are ones that are in my RiskEZI subscription, but I haven't added them to my dashboard yet. So I will go ahead and edit my calendar because I want to make it bigger than that, right? That's what we said. So my calendar is actually called Bob's calendar and it's at the default filter. Now filter is important. So here you can decide whether to be the default setting, which shows you everything, or only show your records, only show departments that you manage, only show specific departments that you're a member of, or even pick a specific department. So you could have multiple calendars set up for each department if you just want to see everything that's happening in one department. So anyway, I'm happy with default. I want to see everything that's going on. And so I go ahead and I go, item view size. I want this to be large, not small. There's only two sizes and they're essentially half the page or the full page. So I'll submit that and that's it. I'm done with my editing. So go back to the dashboard and there we go. My event calendar is now full size. So a few cool things to say about the event calendar while we're here. There's a couple things you can do with it. So if you go forward for a few months to look at what the upcoming events are, and then you think, oh, stuff me, where am we? You want to get back to today? Just hit the today button and you'll go straight back to today. There we go. I can see the event that's happening tonight is worship practice. So that's cool. I can go ahead and open that event and see what's happening there. I've got color codes on my events here. If you want to add an event easily, you just click it and you get this thing saying, do you want to create an event on this day? I don't want to right now. But if you want to create a multiple day event, you just click and drag and it'll give you the same sort of prompt. Do you want to create an event that goes for this many days? Again, I don't want to do that right now, but I'm just showing you some of the things it can do. So that's your calendar. And all of the other modules work exactly the same. You might decide, okay, I don't need these two empty modules, new users and my tasks. I don't care about those things. No worries. Just go back to your edit button and take those modules off your dashboard. See the remove button? It's a delete can, but it doesn't actually delete them. It just takes those modules away. So goodbye, my tasks. I don't want you right now. And goodbye, new users was the other one. Okay, see those have changed to green now, saying that I can still add them. And the gray ones are ones that I already have kept on my dashboard. Go back to the dashboard and there we go. Now you can see it's actually moved things around a little bit. I don't particularly like that, so let's put the calendar back at the top. Just drag it up there and there you go, it'll stay there now. When you do an update, sometimes things fall into a default order. That's just a simple thing, just drag it around and it should stay where you want it to be. Okay, so that is it. That is setting up your dashboard. I could talk more about editing the menus and putting custom links and headings in there, but I'll talk a bit more about that later on. So congratulations on completing step 2, setting up your dashboard. Now we're going to move on to step 3, branches. Branches is an important step to get right. In RiskEZI, a branch is effectively a location of your organization. So if you have your main location in Townsville, but you also have a location in Cairns or Mackay, each of those is a branch. So you have your branch selector here on the dashboard. And as you can see, I've set up a lot of branches because this is my test site. And I'm really only interested in a few of them. But I must say it is important to get your branch numbers right because RiskEZI subscription gives you one branch, but then for every additional branch that you add, there is an extra fee, a charge. Bear in mind, don't go creating branches willy-nilly because they will get added to your invoice and you'll be billed for them. Why that is because each branch comes with a whole bunch of templates and security groups and other things already created. So each of those branches takes up storage on our cloud servers and we have to pay for that storage. And so we essentially have to recover that money. So every time someone adds a new branch, it adds a new charge to their bill. Hopefully that makes sense. So anyway, let's go ahead and set some up. Go down to the site settings menu on the side blue bar and hit the branch management menu. You'll see two options, branches and branch locations. Pretty obvious, any branch needs to have a location. So first you go set up the branches. Here you go, here's my list of all the different ones I've created. But I'm going to open a new branch because very exciting, my organization or my church has decided to open up a new branch in, let's say, Weipa, of all places. Weipa is in far north Queensland. Now you have to give the branch a name and RiskEZI will create a short name for you as well. That's just helpful for searching it and doing things like identification of the branch. So you'll also be given this little information box here, which tells you some things about branches. When creating a new branch, RiskEZI automatically generates data for your branch, security groups, and so on. And as I said, it'll give you some charges. So let's go ahead and create that branch, hit submit, and it says, oh dear, we can't do this. A short name must be between 3 and 15 characters long. No worries, we'll just put in a B because it's Weipa Big Church. Submit that, and there you go. We've now got our new branch. But look at this, it doesn't have a location. Okay, so you could just click add here and add a location for Weipa Big Church, or you can go back to the branch management menu and add branch locations there. I'm going to do it that way for now, just because I want to show you what that menu looks like as well. So coming here to your branch locations, and you can see, despite all the different branches I had set up here, There's actually only 3 of them that have locations. Okay, so I've got branches in Cairns, Townsville, and Disneyland too, but that's not where we opened our new branch. So I'm going to have to go ahead and add a new location, and it's for the Weipa branch that we just created. So we'll give it a title, Weipa Big Church, and we'll give it an address, 578 Fake Street, Weipa, because this is an entirely fictional site. Okay, submit that, and you've added your branch location, and it's been added to the Weipa branch. So now if we look up the Weipa branch in our branch management, branches, scroll to the bottom for Weipa because it's all alphabetically organized, open Weipa, and we can see there's the address, 578 Fake Street, and you can edit that if you decide to move. Okay, so once that has happened, congratulations, you have set up your branches. That is step 3 completed. Branches and branch locations. Very important to get right because, as I said, it does affect your bill, how many branches you have. So only set up the ones you actually need. Okay, let's move on to step 4. This is also a pretty important one to get right for your initial setup because it affects how everyone interacts with your site. So this is what we call the general settings. Go to the settings menu on your blue bar and click General. You can see there's your organization name, Big Church, and if you feel like changing your church name or your organization name, go ahead and do that too. That's fine. And there'll be all sorts of other challenges associated with that, but hey, here you can just update the name, no worries. A short name will also be created, and that's fine, that just happens automatically. So the important settings here are these two and this one. Sign up allowed. This is where you decide whether or not people can sign up as users to your RiskEZI website. If you send them the link or they find the link on the internet and there'll be a sign up button that they can basically create a profile for themselves. Now, no need to stress, it'll be a very basic user profile where all they'll be able to actually see is their user page. They can't give themselves permission to do anything. So it's not a security risk in any way. And you may want to allow signups if you have a whole bunch of volunteers coming, or there's a local mission running, or you're joining in with another event. You may want to get some other people access to your documents, your volunteer inductions, or your policies and procedures so that they know what to do and they're safe. That's entirely up to you. I personally don't have it allowed on my site. I don't recommend it for myself because I have a lot of branches, I've got a lot going on, and I can't really follow up a whole bunch of new users. So it's up to you whether you allow it or not. However, if you are going to allow it, you do have to allow associated domains. So still, even if you do allow it, not anybody can actually give themselves an account, but only people from associated domains, ones that you enter here and say are okay. You can see I've entered dactech.com and northreach.org as the associated domains. So anybody with an email address at dactech or Northreach can give themselves an account at my RiskEZI site. That's if I have sign up allowed ticked. So the next setting, email disabled, is very similar. If you tick that one, as it says here, disables auto emails in events and incidents, other emails will still send. So in RiskEZI, if you are added to an event or you're given a task or someone writes an incident report that is against your name or is in a department that you manage, you will be sent an email saying, this has happened, please log in to read the details and action as required. Now, you can disable those emails if you don't want to get them for every single notification that happens to your account. If somebody, let's say you're a board member and you're only wanting to be emailed about the very important things, well, that's fine. Go ahead and hit this email disabled button. But be aware, it is a global setting for your site. So if you do it here, it applies to everybody. Only the absolutely most important emails will send if you tick that button. So I don't recommend ticking that one. I think it's best to leave it off. Okay, so once you've entered the domains that are safe, if you've done the sign up allowed and you're happy with all the settings here, go ahead and hit submit. And important to get that right. Success, the setting has been saved. That's it, you have completed step 4, set up your general settings. So step number 5, probably one of the most crucial steps in the whole setup. This is where you do your initial user management. So go to the user management menu, click on users. Okay, now I've already added a whole bunch of users, as you can see. You can see that I'm a super admin, there's another super admin, and then there's all these other people who are just in departments, and they're just normal users. Now, because I'm a super admin, I have links to view the departments or view the security groups or even view the branches. However, most normal users don't have links. These texts will still show, but they won't be clickable links because they won't have access to see those or edit those areas. So I'll get into security groups later on. However, here we can see all the different users, and we can always look up more details about them by just pressing the view button, and we can see their profiles. So that's pretty cool. And if you need to edit someone's profile for them, reset their password, anything like that, you can do that as a super admin. So, user management. Why is this so important? Well, because it all is about access. You don't actually need everyone in your church to have a RiskEZI profile. In fact, you probably don't need most people in your church to have a RiskEZI profile. What you do want is the decision makers. You want people like your board, your management team, your leaders, and the people that lead your ministries. If you're not a church, you're just an organization, again, you want the decision makers. You want the heads of departments. You want the board. You want the CEO. Anyone who's in a management or leadership position, or anyone who you've appointed as an incident moderator. Okay, so here you can add users. There's 3 ways you can add users. You can hit the quick add, the lightning button. You just whack in a name, just like that. And I'm going to use a completely fake email address for this user. Now, let's say I want this person to be a super admin because they've just joined our church and they're going to be helping out with running the administration. That's fine. I just make her a super admin just like that. I hit submit, and that will send off an email to her saying, hey, you've just been added to RiskEZI at Big Church. Would you please verify your email? And then you can log in and get started. Okay, so that's how you just quickly add someone. The second way in which you can add users is what we call the long add. So let's say this is usually more for a staff member or somebody you know a lot about because they've been around for a while, or they've just joined your team but you know all their stuff. They're not someone that's going to be gone quickly. So I'd probably use quick add for a volunteer or someone who's only going to be around for a short time, and long add for someone who we know a lot more about. So once you click on the long add button, you get to fill in account credentials, set a password, put in all the personal information, any additional information, and hit submit. It will do the exact same thing in that it will add them to the users. However, at this point, you've filled out a lot more of their information. They'll still get sent an email asking for them to verify their account. So that's the second way. The third way that you can actually do it is you can add a sign up link to your website or send it to someone in an email or send an invitation to them. Essentially, a sign up allowed option, which lets people do themselves, but it will basically just be a quick add, but they'll put in the very basic information. You'll get given a notification saying, hey, somebody has signed up to your RiskEZI site. Then you can go check it out, see if they're who they're supposed to be, and away you go. So you can decide whether or not to use that third option, but these two are very good. And if you have a whole bunch of volunteers coming on at once for an event or something, it's a good idea to send a invite link out that they can all use. Okay, so that's users, adding users. Now, I'll get into it more later, but all users have access to your site, but you can decide how much or how little access they have to different modules. For example, not everybody needs to be able to view incident reports and see what's been happening. But everybody needs to be able to submit an incident. If they were working in a team and something happened at an event, they need to be able to submit an incident on the fly right there. So everybody has access to incidents, but not everybody needs to have access to the incident reports. Okay, so setting up your users, just some quick advice. I would put in all of the decision makers in your church, give them a profile. Don't make everyone a super admin. You really want to limit that access because it can do absolutely anything on your site. Just give super admin to one person who's going to be managing this site, or possibly 2 if you're a bigger organization, maybe even 3 or 4, but you don't want everyone to have it. It's just not designed to work that way. And too many cooks in a kitchen, too many people making changes, the software's not designed to handle that. Okay, now I've mentioned departments a few times, so let's move on to step 6, setting up your departments. Okay, departments is also under the user management menu here, and you can see that there. It's in the departments. So click that button and you'll see all the departments I've set up for my big church site. Now, again, I'm a super admin, so I can see everything that's going on. I can see links. I can click on anybody's name and go to their profile, or I can just go to see who the managers are, open their profiles. I can view the actual department and open it up. So let's say I want to know more about the coffee ministry of Big Church. No worries, I'll just view the ministry. Oh, cool, it's the Big Church Coffee Ministry. These are the managers and these are the members. So that's everybody that's in the Big Church Coffee Ministry department or team, if you like. You can edit that easily enough. You can just put in some required training, like a volunteer induction. You can add people to the managers. You can take people away, just decide you don't want them there anymore. You can add more people into the team. It's all very simple. And then hit the submit button and it all changes there for you in real time. Go ahead and set up any departments you need. So this is kind of like any group of people that does a static role in your church or organization. So you can see here for a big church, we have brothers, the men's ministry, if you like, the coffee ministry, the elders, the kids' church, the pastors, the women's, the worship, the young adults, and the youth. Now you can add as many departments as you like. Just really set this up to serve you, your church, or your organization. So once you've gone ahead and added your departments, something I should mention here is that because, particularly in a church, but sometimes also in business, departments change all the time. They close down, they start up. You might start a new ministry and then it closes shortly later. Something that's been running for years might close down. It's the nature of the beast. Things change. So you can always close a department. So just edit it, go to view it, and then hit this delete department. Don't panic. It's not going to delete it forever. Let's say, a whole bunch of men leave your church and you don't need a men's ministry anymore. Okay, well, that's fine. You can just close the department by deleting it, but it's not going to delete it forever. It just archives it to take it out of the kind of active content of the site. And you can hit the view deleted departments, and there it is. The brothers and the young adults have both been deleted. So for whatever reason, we don't need those departments anymore, and we've just put them aside. Now, obviously, they're still there as historic data because you may need to know what happened in the past in your church or your organization. So nothing's ever really deleted in RiskEZI. It's only ever archived so that it's still stored there in case you need it in the future. And you can always restore it by simply hitting the restore button. It'll ask you if you want to, if you're sure. And there you go. The brothers ministry is back online and happening again. Obviously, this all needs to mirror reality. So do what you need it to do. Set it up the way it works for you. RiskEZI is built to be customized to reflect what you need. And basically, that's it for departments. Once you have set up your departments, the important thing, of course, is to put people into them. So you can edit and just add people like I did before and just whack a whole bunch of people in there. Or you can actually go the long way and go to someone's individual profile. So like here we have Gary Winberger. Let's say he's in the pastors department. We'll go to his profile, edit it, and decide that we need him in the women's department as well for some reason. So there he is. He's been added, and we submit that. Now, if we go back to the departments, women's ministry has Gary Winberger in it. So there's kind of two ways you can add them. This is the quick way to add people from the list, but if you want to do, if you're already editing someone's profile and you're like, oh yeah, I got to put them in their department, just do it while you're there. No stress. Okay, congratulations on completing step 6, set up departments. Now, just before I move on to step 7, I would like to mention one more thing under users, and that's the user documents here. So along with a personal profile page, everybody who is a user of RiskEZI gets a small amount of storage for their user documents. This is not meant to be a place where you keep your holiday snaps. This is for uploading things that are pertinent to the RiskEZI site and to your organization or church. So let's say you want to know if everyone has a blue card in your church. Well, user documents is where they can upload their blue card, and anyone who has admin access will be able to see that. But only the user themselves can actually update it. Okay, or perhaps it's their license, or for some reason you need them to drive a forklift and you only want the people who have a forklift, ask them to go ahead and upload their ticket. That's what you do. So that's user documents. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just add your own there, check for deleted ones, etc. It's not too hard, pretty simple. Let's move on to step 7, which is setting up your security groups. Now, this is a really important part of RiskEZI. Security groups define access to your site. Everybody who is a user of RiskEZI is in a security group. They have to be. This is how we do access on the site. It's how we decide who gets to see what and who can do what tasks. So it's very important to get this right, possibly the most important thing of all on your site. So when RiskEZI is first created, when your site's first made active, you get a bunch of security groups automatically created. You'll get an all users group, which is set up, and everybody that has a profile just goes automatically into that group. Just because if there's ever any need to pick someone and you want to see all the historical people that have ever been part of your church, then you just go to here to the all users and you'll find them. By the same token, you have an all managers group. If anyone's ever been a manager, they'll be added in here and maintained in that security group. And those come with specific access. You can see the super admin and I are the only people in managers, and they have admin access to all functional areas. So pretty important to be careful who you put into that all managers group. Only super admins usually go in there. All right. So then there is a Townsville main board. So Townsville, because it's my main branch, my default branch for this profile. So the main board, the main event moderator, the main incident moderator, the main risk management committee, the main HR manager, those 5 groups are always created when you create a RiskEZI site. So the reason for that is that most of the churches we've spoken to have a need for these kind of roles to be played. There's a board that everybody answers to. There's an event moderator or event coordinator of some kind that basically says, yes, that event can go ahead, or no, it can't. There is an incident moderator, somebody that is your kind of incident reporting safety coordinator person, and that might be more than one person. That's fine. We've created a security group. There's a risk management committee. So these are your people that make up your risk assessments, and they get notified of incidents, and they handle the outcomes, and they do the risk reviews to see how the control measures are happening. HR manager is basically a human resources manager. It's somebody that has access to see all of the user profiles and can put people into their appropriate departments and so on. So those 5 groups are already created for you, and you can go ahead and add as many more as you need. Just hit the add button up here and define it as you need. But let's go ahead and edit an existing group. Let's say the main board. Let's see what access they have. Okay, so we just press the view button, and here we go. We see this is the branch, Townsville. The main board has full access, but they're notified of level 1 and level 2 incidents. So if something pretty serious happens, these people get an email. There's only one member at the moment, the super admin profile, which I'm currently using. Now, this is how the permissions actually works. Each of these modules is a different parts of RiskEZI. Okay, so you can see them, they're the same as the menu items in the side, the branches, dashboard, departments, events, forms, incidents, registers, resources, etc. Now, the really important part is, of course, the permissions. None means they can't even see it. You'll notice that in this particular group, the main board, the only place they have no access to is your security groups, right where we are, and settings. You don't want even your board to change your website, your RiskEZI site. You only want your super admin to do that. So they have no access to those things. In fact, everybody has no access to security groups and settings except for the super admins. You can change that. You might decide the board can have view access so they can see what's going on, but they can't change it. That's up to you. But I recommend leaving it as no access because generally speaking, this is stuff that you only want someone who really knows what they're doing to do. Okay, now the other kinds of access, so none is you can't even see it. User means you can see it and you have some privileges. For example, in incidents, you can add an incident report. In risk assessments, if you're a normal user, you can add a risk assessment, but it'll need to be reviewed by someone who has admin access. So this is full access to the particular module. So you can change this up. You might decide, hey, you know what? We don't want the board to have access to branches. We don't want them adding more branches and giving us a bigger bill. Or perhaps we don't want them having access to events. They can see what's going on, but we don't really want them to be changing things. And then finally, the email column basically just sets who gets the notifications. Notice it says send admin level notifications. So basically, whatever the admin settings are, whatever an admin would normally get for that particular module, the people in this group would then get those notifications. So this is one that most people don't actually need. It's only for the really important people that you need to notify of things happening. Nobody likes heaps of notifications, so don't turn it on unless you need it. Okay, so that's how they actually work. You can just press update and there you go. It'll say, are you sure? And away you go, that's been done. Righto, so security groups. There's a lot more that could be said, but basically this is how you handle access to your site. Set it up how it works for you. Whatever your structure is, however it works. RiskEZI was designed to be customizable. So if you need more security groups, go ahead and add them and tweak them to suit you. If you need less, that's fine. Get rid of some, no stress. The only ones that you can't get rid of without breaking the site are the all users and the all managers. So I recommend leaving them as they are. They serve a specific purpose, and you'll likely be calling support if you get rid of one of those because they are designed to stay there. But we'll just tell you to restore it because that's how we designed the system. But that is step 7, set up your security groups. So go ahead and do that for your church or organization, and then we'll move on to step 8. So step 8 is all about risk assessments and risk analysis. So let's go to risk analysis first, and I'll quickly show you the risk matrix. So this is built in, comes with every site. Every RiskEZI site has one of these. So you have the matrix, it's set up there, it's got the probabilities and the consequences all laid out in a nice little grid. But let's say you don't actually like this nice little grid, you want to change things. No stress, you can edit the actual matrix itself and you can change all of these conditions. Let's say, oh, I don't like the word extreme, I want to say something different. Well, that's fine. You go ahead and in risk analysis, change the classes. See, extreme can become awful if you like. That's fine for you, whatever you need to say. Awful. Okay, so it's changed and updated. And if we go back to our risk matrix, instead of having extreme, we now have awful across the board. So there you go, update it as you need. You can do the same with the probabilities, redefine the probabilities, just hit the edit button. Maybe you want to have something different, change the percentages, whatever works for you. Same with the consequences. Maybe you're not so worried about financial or physical, but you're thinking more about reputation or something like that. That's fine. Change the risk consequences. That's totally up to you. Set it up how it works for your organization. Okay, so that's the risk analysis menu. The risk matrix, of course, is at the very heart of RiskEZI, and it is where all of the risk assessments flow out of. So on the risk assessments menu, you'll see all of the ones that I've created. However, when you first set up your RiskEZI site, you won't have a whole list like this. You need to set up the ones that work for your organization or your church. I don't know what's going to happen in your organization or your church, but you do, and you can create the risk assessments that you need. So a few things to say here. One, you have a whole list. Tags are pretty important because they let you search things. Let's say you want to know everything about bomb risks at your church. Just search by bomb and you get the only risk assessment which actually includes a bomb threat. So there you go, Joe's Fruit Bar. What happens, who knows, but there might be a bomb threat. They'll be training on bomb defusal. That's cool. Okay, now back to the risk assessments for a moment. Tags work pretty well for searching things, but yeah, it's entirely up to you what tags you create. You just create them when you create obviously I've got a lot of risk assessments for youth. You can also search by safe work, whether something is a safe work practice, yes or no. And obviously you can combine these search fields. You can combine tags and safe work practice and find out. So safe work practice basically means this has been approved to be a standard risk assessment for your organization or church. As in, yes, we've made the risk assessment, we reviewed it, we agree, this is our standard. Mark it as a safe work practice, and that's what everybody does from now on at your organization, because we all follow the rules and do exactly what we're told. Okay, so a few more things to say. Risk assessments. Let's just go ahead and create one. So you press the plus button like everywhere else on the site, give it a name, I don't know, let's call it Hoop Mania. Let's say it's about basketball. That's a new tag. I also want to say youth, but that's already existing, so let's pick youth. And we'll also say ball because we want to add it to that as well. Okay, those are the tags we'll use. Now we'll just say people will play basketball. We won't tick this as a safe work practice because it hasn't been reviewed yet. So that's it, that's all done. And then we look at the risk matrix. Okay, so we can click it here and review it. Ah, yes, we remember this. No stress. We better add some, hey? So let's add a row. And this is where we actually do the risk assessment. You can add as many rows as you like. But this is the risk. This is the identified problem, Hoop Mania. Okay, cool. So what are the hazards attached to Hoop Mania? People will go crazy. Let's say that will happen. That's a risk. It's a hazard. It might happen. The probability is pretty rare. The consequences are fairly minor. So it's already a low risk. That's good, but we probably should have a control measure. Let's say we will not serve sugar, just to help people not go crazy. And with our control measure, the probability becomes rare and the consequence is pretty much insignificant. And so we have a low risk rating as well. That's pretty good stuff. I don't actually want to add a whole bunch more because you've seen how to do it. So I'm just going to get rid of all of these ones, because if I try and save one that's empty, it'll throw an error and say, hey, put something in that line. Okay, so there we go. We've added our row, we've added our risk assessment. At Hoopmania, people play basketball, but there's a chance they'll go crazy. So we won't serve sugar. That's our risk control. Submit that. Boom. We now have a risk assessment for Hoopmania. Now that's all lovely, but it's a bit silly, and who knows whether Hoopmania is actually a real thing or not. But now let's say that we had an event. So we'd go to events, add a new event, and we'll pick youth. And here's the team. So the team pop up, and we'll call it Youth Night Ball Games. This is what's going to happen. This is the event. It's going to happen at Big Church, so no stress. We're going to start it at 6 o'clock p.m. and finish at 8 o'clock, and it will happen tomorrow, Friday. That's great. And we'll end it on the same day. We don't want to end it the next day. Okay, and submit that. So that's creating an event, which I should also look at later, but for now, basically just going to show you as I talk about risk assessments. Once an event has been created, you get a whole bunch of stuff. The branch, the department, the leaders, the team, you can add or remove the team, the location, organizers, and what status it is. It's working, which means it's not yet approved. It's not yet going to happen. So go ahead and add a section, and let's call it playing basketball. And that's what's going to happen. We won't bother with any notes. So in playing basketball, we realize, oh, hang on, there's a chance of Hoopmania. So let's look it up. Basketball hoops. Oh, this is good. Well, we wanted Hoopmania, so let's add that to our event. Yep, cool. But that other one looked pretty good too. So let's have a look at that. Add risk assessment. What was that other one? Hoop. Basketball hoops. Big Church has some freestanding basketball hoops that can be used in it. Oh, this looks good. Let's have a look at this. Add it to the event, and then we can review what it says. Basketball hoops. Notes, hazards, control measures, all set up. Looks pretty good. Okay. We'll mark that as ready for review. That event is now ready to proceed. Done. Okay, so that will go to our event coordinator or event manager or whatever the role is that you set up, and they will be told this event has been set up, it's ready to go ahead. Can you check the risk assessment, check everything's okay? And if you do that, you can tick it as confident that it can be approved. Then it'll pop up in the RiskEZI calendar, and people get sent emails saying, hey, you're on the team. Please come ahead and read the risk assessment so you know what we need to plan for. So that's how you actually use a risk assessment. Now, you'll notice that I made a very silly one called Hoopmania, but you can actually do serious ones like handling a cyclone. What happens if a known sex offender walks into your church? What happens if a musician gets injured? It's crazy. What happens if the rapture happens? Wow. So the other thing that you can do is set up a risk that is always happening at your church as its own risk assessment. So let's say your church is right next door to an airport, and there's always the risk of really loud noises hurting people's ears. Set up a risk assessment called airport and automatically add it to any event that's going to be happening at your church location. Okay, that's enough about that. Risk assessments don't need to all be set up when you first set up your site. Maybe just add those site-wide ones that I just mentioned, and then let all of your users add the risk assessments which are pertinent to their department as they come into the site and do their bit. You'll probably have to create a few just to give them a feel for it. But the other thing I should mention is that you can always go to the community public list, and this is where you can actually download any risk assessment that's been uploaded from any user of RiskEZI anywhere. So let's say there's a church in Canberra or Victoria that has run a basketball youth night, and they've created a fantastic risk assessment, but the dates are all wrong. The locations are all wrong. No stress. Go find it on the community public list, download it, save a copy as yours, and then just change the dates to make it work for you. It's one of the most powerful features about RiskEZI is that we can actually build a community and help each other out by sharing our risk assessments and some other resources as well, such as incident templates and so on. That is setting up your risk assessments and risk matrix. Step 8 is complete. Well done. Okay, now you don't actually need to set up anything in events right now. That will just be what people do when they need to do stuff. So we're not going to move on to that. Moving on to step 9, I just want to show you one other area of the site. Now it's important that your church or your organization has some standards that people follow, protocols, maybe inductions, maybe policies and procedures, whatever it is that you need. You need somewhere to store that and a central location where everyone can find it. That is the resources area. So find resources on your menu. Now this is actually quite different to the user docs that I mentioned earlier. User docs is a place for people to store their own specific things that are pertinent to them, their blue cards, their licenses, etc. Here in resources, you actually store the documents that are pertinent to everyone. So you can see there's 4 different kinds. You can add a video, which is essentially a link to a video hosted somewhere else, like YouTube or your church website, whatever. You can add a note, which is just a simple note. There's one here, welcome to all. Welcome to everyone. Hello, welcome to Big Church. We're an entirely fictional church. You can edit them, you can submit them, all that kind of thing. You can move them up and down in the display options. There's lots of things you can do with resources. You'll notice also there's these tag menus across the top. So you can tag things. So you can say, hey, I want to see everything that's about welcome. There's a video and a note. Lovely. All right, maybe you want to see everything about insurance. Oh boy, here we go. We've got 5 different articles or documents that have been submitted. So this is where you can send people to access anything that's pertinent to church. Let's say you have a whole bunch of new volunteers in the kids ministry. Well, send them here, let them read your child care policy and your child safety policy, make sure they have a blue card, etc. Add a checklist, whatever they need to do. And that's a fantastic place to send people. I should mention that you can always you can change the view of this. So the security can be either public, which means everybody can see it. New means only people who are new to the site can see it. So that might be something like an induction. User means most people. And super admin means, well, super admin can do everything. So you can change the view. So if I was a new user, when I log in, I'll only be able to see the documents which are listed as new, which actually is none of them. None of these are new. So you can filter by type, you can search on a specific thing, etc., etc. So lots of stuff you can do with resources. But this is essentially your church's document repository. This is where you can upload things, and it's also pretty important to keep versions of things. Let's say your child safe policy, as the legislation changes, your child safe policy will need to be updated over time. But if someone brings a case against your church or organization, you can go back in time and see what your policy was at the time, compare it to the legislation, and see if anybody was out of line. That kind of thing. Obviously, best if nothing ever happened, but this is how we protect ourselves. This is how we care for people well. And that's the heart and soul of RiskEZI, helping you to do your job better. Okay, that was step 9, add some resources. There's a bunch more little things I could quickly add. So the menu is completely customizable as well. If you want to change your menu, just go to settings, menus, and you can move it up and down. You can create a custom link like these ones I have at the top, Facebook, church website, LinkedIn, etc. So you can go ahead and do that in your own time if you need to. One note on that, if you do make any changes to your menu, you'll have to either press the rebuild or the rebuild here. One of those buttons, either one will just rebuild the menu to include your changes. So that's that done. Other simple little things I could mention, you can customize different things. You can always contact support. I mentioned at the start the built-in help, really important. It'll take you to a bunch of helpful information. So that is all the steps for setting up your RiskEZI site for the first time. Thank you for sticking with me this long. The final thing to do is to sign out, because remember, you're a super admin right now, and you don't want to leave that signed in so that anybody that accesses your device can make changes to your RiskEZI website. So go ahead and sign out, and there you go. Now, you can sign back in as a super admin if you need to make back-end changes, but I would recommend using your own personal one. Thank you for choosing RiskEZI, where risk management is made easy.